The diametric opposite of what we saw with income tax. The number of income tax payers is increasing and the number of GST frauds is increasing.
So before we go to e-gaming, let's quickly understand what's happening with GST. Government has a problem, and that problem is by the way of GST evasion. Companies, businesses are finding innovative ways again to evade GST, and that has resulted in GST Council, authorities cracking the whip on how to ensure that people continue to file GST as they are liable to.
Right. So, I'll request Anu to move on maybe to the graphics that we have on the data that FM presented in Parliament yesterday, right, on GST evasion. And let's take it from there. Now, incidentally, there are two things that have happened. One, of course, is the set of data that the Finance Minister presented in Parliament yesterday, and this was data pertaining again to GST frauds of the last 2 months, which was between the month of April and May of this financial year. And in addition to that, so these graphics are here. Let's just maybe move on to the graphics on which we have the FM actually making that disclosure, and then let's come to the ones that Amit Mitra, former Chief Minister of the state of West Bengal, has alluded to. Former Finance Minister. So, I think this is what Amit Mitra has written to the Finance Minister, and is saying that I write this letter with great anguish and deep concern. He's talking specifically about
Let's move the BG as well, please. We are not talking about e-gaming, so perhaps let's move on to the next BG where we are talking about GST frauds. Yes.
So, Amit Mitra has written to the government, and Amit Mitra has written to the Finance Minister to call for a special GST Council meet to tackle two primary issues. One issue being the rising cases of GST frauds, and this number runs into trillions of rupees, right? So, almost 1.5 trillion rupees or 1.5 lakh crore rupees of GST invasion between 2020, 2021 and 2023 up until the month of May. So, this is issue number one. Issue number two happens to be by way of this constant revision and tinkering of GST rates. So, as many as 400 goods and about 100 services have seen revision of rates as far as GST goes. So, enough and more data available. At one point, the government has accepted that there have been GST evasions to the tune of about 14,000 crore rupees in the first 2 months of this financial year. I'm talking about the month of April and May. And this is the figure stated by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Parliament yesterday. 14,000 crore rupees of GST evasion has happened on account of some 2,800 odd tax evaders, right? There we have the numbers now. So, 2,784 cases of GST evasion, and these amount to about 14,300 crore rupees worth of frauds. Now, another 5,700 crores of frauds have actually been recovered. So, this is the amount that the government has actually been able to recover from preceding months. Overall, this data corroborates with what Amit Mitra was mentioning, about 20,000 crore rupees or so. Right, let's move on to the next graphic and see what else we've got. So, the data presented by Finance Minister yesterday in Parliament says that there has been GST evasion of 2.68 lakh crore rupees across 43.5 thousand cases between 2020 and this financial year up until now. It's not an estimate till 24, it is actually real data till May 2023. So, present FY 24, out of which there has been a recovery of about 76,000 crore rupees.
So, not even half the money.
Not even half the money. In fact, just about 1/3 of the money has actually been recovered. Now, basis this, let's see what Amit Mitra has written to Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in his letter. And if we can move on to that graphics of Dr. Amit Mitra. So, presently he is of course Principal Chief Advisor to the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, and he has written that I write this letter with great anguish and deep concern. Move on, please. On the one hand, GST frauds are proliferating across the country and they are penetrating each and every state. And on the other hand, the web of regulations is so overpowering for MSMEs that they actually are right now on the verge of deregistering and going back to their informal status. So there are two very critical things that Amit Mitra is talking about here, Shweta. One, of course, is the GST tax evasion, and that number is huge. And the second is informal sector wanting to, which had formalized by way of GST registrations, now finding the whole regulation so complex that they want to go back to being in the informal sector, and they are saying, you know, we'll possibly deregister ourselves from GST. He also goes on to state that 90% of the GST collection is actually happening only from large corporations, not from the MSMEs. And the compliance burden is so high that MSMEs who are registered with GST are pretty much falling through those cracks. And hence he's calling for a special meeting of the GST Council to address these two specific challenges.
Okay. And these challenges, of course, continue to go on unabated. Amit Mitra, in a letter there, as you can see on your screen's graphics, where he talks about GST evasion detected in the last 2 months and overall in a period which was as long as 3 to 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years period. We will, of course, track that story. But GST Council expected to also meet today, perhaps ratify
tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Wednesday, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.